Yeah. Live and direct from the new planet Earth, where pandemics are plenty, but the girls are still pretty in fashionable dresses. You know what I'm talking about. Where ignorance is bliss, and you ain't gotta give a about no code.
Tell me who unleashed our animal instinct. Why the op standing there tickle pink? Have a drink, no more liquor. Got a poison. One thicker, one gangster, one hole in the desert for the snitch. What happened to the cold? What's this?
Welcome back to Franchise Sports Media's coverage of Super Bowl LVIII from Radio Row. Joe Rigo. This time I got Griffin Kemp with me.
What's up?
And
What's good?
Look, this is a guy I've known for quite some time from my neck of the woods in the IE in Corona. Adam Rank, you see him on NFL Fantasy. Adam.
What's going on?
Brother.
Representing the 951 per usual. I think that a lot of you, everybody's been talking about here, the big story, Corona Panthers baseball, where I played. We're #1 in the nation.
Love
Very
it.
nice,
Love it.
very nice.
Love it.
So, this, I don't know what to call this. I think this is one of those glutton for punishments, but it's really, I'm not the one getting punished.
Yeah.
A Packer fan with two Bears fans.
Yes.
Let's
I
Trying
love
to
it.
class
Let's
up the
go.
organization a little bit.
Oh, shit.
Class up the joint. Like Green Bay's had a nice little run. You know what?
30
the thing,
years.
What is it? 30, whatever. 2 Super Bowls and the whole thing. Like, I'm sure it was great. Like, I'm sure you were like, you know what? That was good.
Yeah.
It's kind of like being at the tables and you're up $1,500 and then you're leaving with 100. And you're like, well, I'm leaving. I'm up. Like, I'm still up. You're not losing, but it could have been more.
Right.
I don't know.
But here's the thing. You can say that, but 2 Super Bowls since 1985.
Yeah.
I mean, like out on the bus ride from opening night, we were sitting in the back of the bus, and I forget the dude's name we were talking with over there when I went to talk to you initially.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the Bears because we had a bet, which was he said Justin Fields was going to carve up Green Bay this year. Bet was loser has to wear the other one's jersey.
Oh, no.
He hasn't worn the Jair
Yeah.
Alexander jersey yet. Then it went double or nothing.
Oh, jeez.
So he's got. So tomorrow, I'm bringing it tomorrow. He's wearing it all day tomorrow. First of all.
He let me off the hook. He said I could, not today. I get to wear my little fancy outfit today, but I am going to
You
have
look
to.
sharp, by the way.
I mean, you in that Bears shirt, I'd
And
say
I'm
you look better.
trying to represent, going back to Super Bowl 20. It's a big night. Like, we're doing this in front of honors. Tonight, there's going to be a couple of Bears who are up for induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Now, the word around here is that maybe a couple of Bears are getting in, but I think, looking back at Super Bowl 20 and looking at that great team, you think of some of the personalities, and I know Steve Mongo McMichael is one guy who and the seniors guys usually get in. When you get to this point, you're probably getting in. And so he was somewhat overshadowed because of Richard Dan and Mike Singletary and
Wilbur
great players.
Marshall.
Wilbur, they had so many great players, but Steve Mongo McMichael definitely deserves the enshrinement into the Hall of Fame. And if you're a wrestling guy, you remember him as part of the Four Horsemen. So there's a lot of stuff going on. We can too sweet it, like it's okay. Cease and desist. But no, so I'm excited. So that's why I decided today, and this is a cool shirt from a company called Homage. They make great, they even have some Green Bay stuff, like whatever. You got to appease that fan base. I don't understand where the Green Bay fans come from.
Okay, so
That town has 400 people.
The stadium's in the neighborhood.
Like Chicago makes sense. Detroit, Minnesota, like where
Okay, let's talk. You talk about it's in a neighborhood. Look at the stadiums and look at the field at Soldier Field is trash. It's arguably the worst.
No. That's one of the things they switched over the last couple of years. It was garbage. Being on the water, it is very difficult.
So are you guys gonna
Well,
get a new
they're
stadium? I mean, that's the question.
Well,
I mean,
now they're pivoting towards being in downtown Chicago again. I don't know if it's a tactic with Arlington Heights because they own that land.
it was like $150 million difference or something like that.
Yeah, something. I don't know. I don't know if it's like you get into the negotiations. You guys know this. Like, the Tropicana is still standing. Like, you never know. You never until you actually see the building being built. You can't really say 100% one way or the other. But I'd be happy with either. Just get a new. I actually like Soldier Field, so I'm in the minority on that one.
I mean, one of the most historic stadiums in the NFL. There's so much history in that stadium. It's hard to get excited when you know that when a new stadium comes, we're going to be losing out on all that history. But at the same time, an indoor field,
Hosting a Super Bowl.
Please the quarterback.
I gotta be
get
honest.
our offense going a little
The
bit.
NFC North, NFC Central, I know Detroit's is dome. It's always been that way since the Silver Dome. But
Yeah.
I like in Minnesota. What's Minnesota? See,
It's been a long time.
But I like the outdoor stadiums in that division. It fits the Midwest.
Yeah.
You know, you get them cold. Black and blue division. You're too young for that.
Yeah.
But black and blue division. I mean, the only growing up in Southern California, the only time I watched Green Bay, I had them 2 times a year as a kid. Thanksgiving, and then if they played the Rams.
Yeah.
Or the Raiders, that was it. So like being a fan, it really sucked back then. Plus they sucked. They
Yeah.
were the Bears back then. I mean, let's call it like it is.
They were a terrible franchise.
You know, 85 was the worst for me. It was one of the worst years ever. I'm not gonna lie. But Adam, I want to ask you, as being one of the heads of Bear fandom anywhere, bro.
Sure.
Number 1 pick. Are you keeping Fields? Are you drafting Caleb and trading Fields? What would you do if you were the GM, gun to your head?
If I was a GM, I would keep Justin Fields, and I would try to get another haul, and I would try to build the team. It's interesting when you look at the Super Bowl right now, you have 2 examples of both ways to go, where you have the best quarterback in the NFL. He's carrying the Chiefs. They've been to Super Bowls 4 out of the last 5 years. And then the 49ers are making it work with Jimmy Garoppolo's, Brock Purdy's. They just have a great team around their quarterback, and it also gets you to the Super Bowl. So I really believe that if you are building a good organization with good players, the quarterback situation will work out on its own. But for me, I think that, you know, Spice Adams said this yesterday, like, you water your own lawn.
Yeah.
You've got the player that you've invested in. You're bringing in Shane Waldron. So at that point, you know what? Let's go get Marvin Harrison Jr. Let's get some other pieces. Let's build a squad, and let's go after it.
I love that. I can't lie. I totally agree. I love Fields. I've loved Fields since we traded up for him.
Oh my God,
With Matt Nagy was still at the helm. I really think, you know, he's got so much potential, and just what he can do with his legs alone. And you know, it's underrated what he can do with his arm. He's got a great arm. He can throw the thing.
Yeah.
But his legs, we haven't seen movement like that. You got Lamar, but besides Lamar, we haven't seen it since Mike Vick. This man almost broke the single season.
He is a
rushing
one
record.
read and run quarterback.
Under certain
when
coaches.
it's DJ Moore, yes, it's a one read. No, see, that's the thing. Like, everybody pulled up that play from against the Buccaneers where he misses a guy going down the seam. Then of course it's memed and everyone's like, oh, this guy can't play. 2 weeks later, they run the same play and he dots it. Touchdown. He shows growth. He is learning on the job. Like, he's getting better all
right.
the time.
No, I don't disagree that he's gotten better. And that goes to my point where I actually think, and I say this to you, all fun and games aside, I would stick with the Bears. At some point, you got to say, we're going to see what he can do past year 4.
Yeah.
Because I know we give you some shit about
still-
Green Bay, but they're patient with their quarterbacks. That helps.
Yeah, totally. You know what? And that is one of the things that you would love to see is the consistency, the continuity, and there'll be quarterbacks available in 2025. Like, I don't buy into like every year now. This guy's the best guy that we've seen. Look at what happened with Trevor Lawrence. Like, it's taken him so long. And when you start looking back at all the quarterbacks that people have talked about and propped up as the second coming, like, it really is rarely panned out. Like, Andrew Luck, the suck for luck thing kind of worked. I mean, he got kind of worked over by the organization.
Yeah.
But, like, he was it. Now, like, even Trevor Lawrence, and you're like, I don't know. Like, CJ Stroud was fine last year, but we'll see. So I don't want to give up on these quarterbacks too early. And I don't know. I see a lot of the Josh Allen in him. You know, Josh Allen still makes some plays. You're like, what are you doing? Like, how are you in this far along in your career? But it's like, you just got to take the good with the bad. And I think that's the thing with Justin. Besides, like, when you look at what happened, they should have beat Detroit twice. And they had those 3 games where they had a 95% chance of winning. It's not like, hey, we could have beat this. Like, I wouldn't say that about the Green Bay games. Like, we got beat, like, it happens.
Yeah.
Those are games that if they hold on when you have a 94% chance of winning, they were suddenly a 10-win team.
Yeah.
So I'm good with, sticking with it and seeing what's happening. And let's see what Justin can do.
All right, so I want one last question. I know you love Vegas. You have a good time out here.
Oh, I love it.
Seen you at the draft. We were hanging out a little bit at Circa. Now with this, have you done anything that you thought was pretty badass since you've been here?
I mean, I did go to U2, which was amazing.
Over at the Sphere, right?
The Sphere. That was awesome. And it was, one of the things, like, I was concerned that it was going to be too much, distracting or anything, but no, they tailored the show to it perfectly. I wouldn't advise being on the floor because you're looking up, like you would be looking up the whole time, but we were sitting in the 400 level and it was perfect. And it was an amazing. I'm not even like the biggest U2 guy, but I do enjoy their music, and so that was a cool show. I did that. I got to talk to Carrot Top. Speaking of Vegas legends,
yeah.
I love Scotty. I think Scott's hilarious. I don't think he gets enough credit for how much he writes. Like go see his show. It is fresh material. Like it is new stuff. Like he writes new stuff constantly. And then I did have to stop by the Prohibition Bar. I had some friends with me, so I'm like, oh, you got to check this place out at the Golden Gate. And we went up, and well, I actually stayed there. I actually stayed at the D the first night, but I go, you got to go to the Prohibition Bar and see how that's.
You got to go to Durango. You got to go.
I heard, yeah, I heard it's amazing.
You. Go in there. In Mijo's, there's a speakeasy.
Yes.
And they play wax records the entire night. I know you'll dig that. And then by the book, they have a place called Georgia's Sportsman's Lounge. It's kind of like a mini Circa with 3 big screens, and you can lay that in the bar, restaurant. Really cool vibe. Friday nights they have a band coming, DJs and intermissions of every game. It's a cool spot, so you need to check it out while you're here. My friend, this is my guy Adam Rank, man. Anytime I get Adam on, we're gonna have him on. This is Franchise Sports Media's coverage of Super Bowl 58 live from Radio Row. We'll be back after this.
Direct from the new planet Earth, where pandemics are plenty, but the girls are still pretty in fashionable dresses. You know what I'm talking about. Where ignorance is bliss.